driving. Oh, good. And I took the keys away from you.
They can share. Just make sure they each have one, and then we'll spread them out.
Hey, Darnice, how you doing? Here, this is your NYU.
You and I can share. Well, you and I can share.
See how it is? That's how it's gonna be?
Thank you.
It's two different.
You ready? CTA.
Afternoon.
Hi, so this afternoon, we're going to go over the MOU negotiations again for the TSL grant and the NYU grants. Ms. Marsh is going to take over, but I think we have some new people at the table, so if we could just start at this far end, and we'll go around and everybody introduce themselves.
Good afternoon, Lori Barefoot. I work in, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's recording it.
Is it on?
It's on.
It's on.
There you go.
Is that right?
You go.
Good afternoon, I'm Lori Barefoot. I'm the Compensation Manager in the Compensation and Employee Information Services Department.
Good afternoon, Gonzalo LaCava, CHRO.
Vicki Evans-Prey, Director of Office of Professional Standards.
Good afternoon, Darnice Marsh,
HR Manager.
HR Manager.
Good afternoon, everyone. Edna Michelle, Director of Recruitment and Retention.
Good afternoon, everyone. Maurice Glaze, HR Partner for Department of Recruitment and Retention.
And good afternoon, Jay Bogus, Chief of Staff for the school district.
Justin Katz, President, CTA.
Theo Harris, Executive Director, CTA.
Randall Audie, Labor Relations Consultant, CTA.
All right, thank you. So we're not going to waste everybody's time. We're going to get right into the presentation. Ms. Marsh is prepared to go over some of the questions that you had relative to our last discussion about these two grants. I think we've addressed your questions, or at least the ones that we have. So we'll turn it over to Ms. Marsh.
All right, thank you for being here today. We're going to start off with the NYU grant, and both of you, all of you should have copies of that. So welcome again. We're going to start with NYU, followed by the TSL update. All right, so these are the requested modifications that we reviewed at our last session. And so I've just kind of highlighted some of those things that are reflected in the MOU. You'll see we've made movement based on what you requested. In addition, this is the last change which was stricken from the original MOU.
This was just a repeat of what's already in the MOU, right?
Exactly, yes. We cleaned it up. We tried to make sure that the language was concise, and I can actually think I sent you all a copy of that, but we went through all of the changes and made those modifications. There weren't a lot of requests, and I didn't get any additional questions. So do you have any questions at this time?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
Okay. Just a couple of things, actually. The first one, of course, would be the amount. You didn't respond at all to the amount teachers will receive as a stipend for this. Turn on your mic. Maybe I need to get closer? Okay. Yeah, we did ask about the amount, and we didn't get a response to that, so we were just asking, because we felt that this was quite a bit for a teacher to do for the amount that's being offered, for this activity. So we were asking, is there a response to that request?
Right, the proposal we have, the amount of money that we're going to pay each teacher is $3,000 per year.
Right. I mean, I read that part, but in the last meeting, we showed a concern, and you said that you would get back to us on that. And so I'm just asking you, what did you come up with on increasing the amount that the teacher's receiving for the time that they have to put in for this program?
Right, and we looked at it, but this is the amount of money that we have to expend on this project. We feel that $3,000 is more than adequate compensation. A lot of these teachers have done this voluntarily before, and we wanted to be able to pay them this year.
All right. Excuse me. And then over on the second page, number 4, E and F, we had asked for an explanation as to when or what time did we think these teachers would be doing these activities.
I thought we had answered that when we had the person here last time, that for the most part, they're after hours. And please correct me if I'm wrong, Edwin, if I'm misspeaking on this. But a lot of them are after the teacher's workday because this is not just for the school district of Palm Beach County. It is encompassing districts, around this country. Therefore, they can't necessarily guarantee that they would be during the teacher's workday, just because of the need to have the participants, other participants in the program involved in these training programs.
Right. Yeah, we just wanted to see what the vision of the program thought about when it would be done. I mean, you covered the idea that they'll be doing work after school hours, and they'll be doing work during their planning time. And then you also took off the table relief time and non-contract duty days. So we understood that. I just wanted to know when those activities were going to take place.
If you're looking for specific dates and times, that has not been scheduled yet, to the best of our knowledge.
Yeah, no.
No, that's
we weren't.
correct.
Okay.
Yeah, we weren't. We're okay. And then the one last point was on the back page. You took out I guess it's a new number 6, is it? Well, in the old one, we had a section that spoke about the parties further agree to meet no less than 4 times per year to discuss any challenges.
I believe that was in the TSL. You're looking at the TSL one? Because there is that language. Oh, go ahead.
So it was actually in this, but that portion of the MOU pertains to the NYU personnel. It didn't pertain to the mentor teachers, which is what this agreement covers.
Right, and therefore, and that's why we're mentioning it, because we feel that we do need to put something in there as it relates to the mentor teachers.
Could you expound on that, please?
Yeah, you're asking right here to meet no less than 4 times per year to discuss any successes or challenges of the program to ensure that it is implemented in a manner to safeguard the common goal of increasing recruitment and retention levels at the schools. And so we're saying that we would like to meet, actually we're saying 2 times a year, just to review the progress of the program, to make sure that the teachers are comfortable with what's happening, and if there are any challenges, we can, come through and speak to those challenges if necessary. That's all.
Okay, so let me back up then. What you're asking for is not that NYU meets with the teachers or that we meet with you, but you want to meet with the participants in the program. Is that what you're saying?
Well, no, we're talking about meeting with you. If there are some problems that exist in the program, and of course, we would have to be in touch with teachers in order to know that there were problems. But we
Okay.
just want to be able to have an opportunity to meet with you to see if there are any challenges.
Sure,
let's say-
we can add something like that. That's not a problem.
Okay, that's all we're asking, to have something in there. Kind of the same effort that you put forth
Okay.
for the program, we want to do it for our teachers.
All right. We can add that.
Yeah, just a clarification on a TSL. Some of the language in terms of us getting back together has to do with the multi-year format of this, where for this one specifically, we would actually have to come back anyways to get the next year MOU put together. So this ends at the end of the year.
I'm sorry?
So the purpose of the TSL MOU and having it come back was that the multi-year format of this specific one versus the NYU. So that's what we're envisioning. So I just wanted to clarify that
Right.
that was
And
the
what we've
intent.
done, right, and what we've done in the past is, put an opportunity available when we have an MOU like this, where teachers are involved in activities, particularly when it's talking about time, that we have a chance to review and make sure that we're doing what we say we were going to do. That's all. Yeah.
So we can add language, we can add a paragraph that we will agree to meet with you twice a year on this, for
Yeah, and-
two
and-
times this year on this particular NYU grant.
Theo, can I ask something?
Yes, sir.
And I don't mind, as part of this, every one of these grants, we've been trying to do this together. I was wondering if you wanted to kind of partner up and go out to these sites with me and see if there are any issues with, the program or whatever it might be, and then we can have that conversation. I can go with the representative of CTA, I can go with Justin, I can go with you, but I don't know if that's something that you would be open to do.
Okay. Yes, we're agreeable to that. Thank you.
And one more thing, I think we were talking about the money piece. When I went out to meet with the teachers and to ask their concerns, that was one of the pieces that they shared with me, is that it is, it's a lot of work, and that they wanted to be compensated for it. And, they were doing this voluntarily. So that's why we were considering that portion on the contract. So I just want to make sure that this is what they shared with me, and then we came back to make sure that they were compensated at one point.
So do you have any other changes that you'd like to see in the NYU MOU?
No.
Okay, so we can get that changed and we can have that ready for you probably within 5 minutes after this meeting's over.
We still need to meet on that just real quick on the compensation to determine if we're okay with the 3,000 or if we have a number.
Okay. Again, when we start, last year we were doing this, the compensation was 0. We've moved up 3,000% from where we were before. So, we're limited in the amount of funds that we have. And so if we start getting into a back and forth about what you think we can afford, that requires a much deeper dive that we may not have time to do.
We understand. And how many people total participating in this?
6.
Gotcha. So again, we would want to meet for a second, but, we were thinking something akin to a 6-period supplement because this is a regular, repetitive responsibility that includes during work and after work hours. So
So you're looking at more of 4,500 than 4,000?
something in that ballpark we thought would
Because
be,
the 6-period supplement for a teacher is $4,500 for the year.
yes.
Okay.
All right, so we'll continue on, and then you all can get together later in caucus and let us know what you want to do. All right, so moving on, that kind of concludes that portion of the discussion, and so we're going to transition on into the TSL grant, and I'm just kind of going to walk you through that. So first and foremost, just wanted to thank you for your partnership and reiterate that this grant, we've been able to collaborate quite extensively, and so we have the dates that we've met with you to discuss that. And thank you for your partnership on that as well. Moving on to the TSL sites, at the request, the TSL individual sites were added to the MOU because they weren't previously there, but we made sure that we listed those schools individually in the copies that you have before you. So just to recap the changes, there was some clarification around the evaluation rating timeline. It talks about that the evaluation that we're going to be using is the most recent copy of the evaluation, and it's the overall evaluation, which was something that was raised the last time that we met. In addition to that, we kind of combined the eligibility as well as preference statements, because in the previous revision or in the previous draft, you will note that they were kind of separated out, and we did have dialogue about that at our last session. Also, CTA requested that we remove the word trustworthiness from the list of characteristics for the teachers, so we did that at the request. We created two different sections because I think that this particular draft that you have before you, when we broke out the responsibilities and then the compensation, that just kind of gives teachers a better idea of what this grant entails, and then the compensation piece is separate. And it explains year by year, which is something that we kind of mentioned in the last draft of the document, but we wanted to make sure that it was clear, so we did kind of flesh that out a bit more. So you'll see here the responsibilities are the same. That hasn't really been changed. We did remove at the request of CTA, the reference to non-contractual workdays. So we did remove that. And if we look on into the next section, we have the compensation section. And one thing I wanted to kind of highlight here, we discussed it at the last session, was that there is a difference between the fiscal calendar for the Department of Education and how the school district fiscal calendars and how those two kind of conflict. So I wanted to make sure that, we kind of identified that in the wording of the MOU. And then you'll see here, so year one, which is kind of what we're in now, and the end of year one. So we are proposing that those teachers, at the demonstration teachers, will receive a stipend of $5,000 to be paid no later than October 31st. And then for years 2 and 3, and you'll see I have those designated on the slide. So years 2 and 3 requires that there is a stipend as well as incentive pay, and that's kind of outlined in the MOU, but I just took this out to highlight it. So a portion of it is the stipend, which the demonstration teachers will get. It's $4,000. It will be paid beginning in November and continue to the end of the year. And then the other component of how they get the total package is incentive pay. And you'll see here that calculation is based on student performance. It's the metrics that we've been using for all of the other grants, UNICIG and things that we have done previously. And then the requirement that teachers have to work a minimum of 99 days during those years, and that coincides with them being able to get that student performance piece of the evaluation. So that kind of concludes it. I hope that this new updated revision kind of breaks it down and makes it, easier to digest for CTA as well as the teachers who are going to be working in these sites, who are already working the demonstration teachers. So I'll pause now to see if you all have any questions.
Well, one thing that kind of looms out for us is the amount the teachers are going to receive. Now, according to my understanding, the last time we met and the last document, it says that the teachers would receive $5,000 for participating in the program, and then they would also receive $5,000 for participating in the training of the program. And all that would take place during the first year. What you're saying here, if you move back the slide, you're only talking about $5,000 during that first year.
So
No, so it all coincides in the first year, right? That they get paid. So the $5,000 that they're getting for training is still there, as we discussed last time. The $5,000 that we discussed for year 2 and year 3 is just broken out. So the recommendation that was made the last time is that you all wanted to see a minimum and a ceiling, and that's what's been provided in the incentive form. So it's still the $5,000. We just clarified the language around incentive piece versus the piece that's actually non-incentive.
Okay, I guess I need to say it again. And on the general provisions, on the last time, it says demonstration teachers will receive an allocation of up to $5,000 per year. This allocation will not be prorated, which is an area we had a problem with, should the teacher leader leave the assigned school during the course of the school year. That's what was in the general provisions, number 2. And then in number 4, it says, demonstration teachers will receive up to $5,000 as they participate in all of the initial required training. This amount will be paid no later than October 1st.
Right, so there's 2 pieces, Mr. Harris. The first one, that year 1, is the $5,000. That's for them to participate in all that training. Remember, we talked about they're doing all the training, so it's the $5,000. So when we get to year 2 and year 3, they have a stipend of $4,000 because you wanted to know, you wanted exact amounts, and I understand that. The problem is part of it has to be based on student performance. So there's $4,000 in that years 2 and 3. $4,000 of it is for participating in the program, for doing the work, doing the trainings. The other, up to around $1,000, is based on the pupil, PGP? It's not PGP, PYG, sorry. All these numbers, PYG, the progress the students are making. So that's that incentive. So the calculation is going to be based on the performance of their students, and it's up to about $1,000.
That's correct.
So we wanted to make it as clear as we could under the terms of the grant and the terms of the program. Again, this is a grant that we're given and is part of a program that we're part of. It's not something that we've created in-house. This is something that we're taking from an outside agency and bringing it over to us to provide opportunities of growth for our teachers and to provide additional support for our teachers so that we have better instruction for our students. So we can narrow it down like this, so they know that they're guaranteed $9,000 in the first 2 years, well, for year 3, so add to $13,000 there, correct? Over the 3-year period.
Correct.
That's guaranteed. Then you've got, for those 2 years, up to $2,000 over the course of 2 years, so that's up to $1,000 per year, depending upon their students' performance. So that's as specific as we can get it within the confines of the grant. We can't get it specific, so they're going to get paid this amount, this amount, this amount. So $5,000 the first year for participating, $4,000 the second year, and up to another $1,000 for the second year. Then the third year, they get another $4,000 plus up to another $1,000.
Okay, all right. I'm talking about the first year,
Okay?
all right?
It's $5,000.
Here's what it says. And if you have a copy of the previous document, it'll be easier to follow along with what I'm saying. And if you go back and look at the video, you'll see that we also clarified it then as well. It says demonstration teachers will receive an allocation of $5,000 per year. This allocation, and this is what kind of clears it up, it says this allocation will not be prorated should the teacher leave the assigned school during the school year. So obviously it's something that was, here you're saying you're going to end up paying it more than likely at the end of the year, because the only way you're going to know they left is if it's at the end of the year. All right, and then the second $5,000 says demonstration teachers will receive up to $5,000 after they participate in all the initial training. So there was a two $5,000 payments that were to be made, and that's no longer in here, or it is not reflected up there, and that's what I'm talking about.
In year 1.
In year, all of this
Okay.
is in year 1, because they were going to receive the second $5,000
So-
no later than October 31st, 2021.
That is still true. So again, the confusion here is that the year 1 technically falls into our fiscal year. I think that's what we're going back and forth on. So technically speaking, they will get payment in what you're calling year 1. So in our FY '22, they're going to get the $5,000 for the training that they receive, plus this year 2 stipend and incentive payment. Does that make sense? So it all will fall into what we're talking about. It's the same thing, but the payment is being made for year 1 and year 2, and it's being crunched into
Right.
the
So-
same fiscal year.
Yeah, remember that Darnice alluded to was they're on a different fiscal year than we are, right? So if we're using their terminology, year 1 ends October 31st for them. That's their year 1. Our year 1 is going to end in June. So that's where the confusion is coming from. The intent is to provide teachers with this amount of money, like we talked about. So they would get the $13,000 plus up to an additional 2 over the course of 3 years. We have it calculated out, calling it year 1 here because it's no later than October 31st, because that's year 1 for the Department of,
Okay, well,
Okay.
here's what I'll do. I won't, debate it here. I'll ask that we go back and look at the video so we can look at what we actually said, because this was a concern that I had during that meeting, and it was clarified for me that they would get $5,000 after the training, and then they'll get $5,000 during the course of the year.
correct.
That's correct.
We're not saying different things now. What we're saying is the way we have it worded here is so that it aligns with the fiscal year for the federal government, because that's who's giving us the money.
So again, I think the question or confusion maybe is that we believe, based on the reading of the language in the last session, that there was a $5,000 training stipend and up to a $5,000 payment per year, which to us meant in year 1, $5,000 for training, up to $5,000 for participation, and then subsequent year 2, 3, up to $5,000, because there was no more training. So we thought it was 10 because of the training and the work,
No.
and then 5 and 5, based on what was.
Yeah, I'm sorry for that confusion. That was never the intent. This is the intent. This is a clearer representation here.
All right, that's what I have in writing, and we can go back and review the video, because I did, stipulate that clearly in, as an understanding, because I wanted to be sure. Because in the old MOU, there was a different amount used in the program, because I didn't, what I didn't realize was we had already started negotiating this particular MOU last year, and I was waiting on something about prorating the payment, and we didn't get that, and so then we came back with it as a new document, and so now I wanted to make sure that I'm clear now as to what the amounts would be, because I asked if it was $5,000 for the training and $5,000 for participating in the program during the course of the year. That was what I thought.
Correct, and
That is still
that is what we're saying here, but the way we have it split up again is by the fiscal year for the agency that's giving us the money.
Okay, where's the second $5,000? I guess
The
that'll.
second 5,000 here, where it says year 2 and year 3. The second 5,000 starts with a stipend of $4,000, plus the calculation on student performance, which is up to $1,000. That's for year 2, and then again for year 3.
Right, there's been no performance in year 1. They haven't started yet.
And
Right.
year 1 ends October 31st, 2021.
Right, but my understanding, and maybe I'm wrong, and I'll go back and look at the video again myself, but I thought they were getting paid $5,000 for doing the program and $5,000 for doing the training.
So
That was my thought.
that is still true. The training is only occurring, the training only occurs once, and that is during year 1. So we lobbied the US DOE for us to use the stipends for the training. So it occurs once. So that's the $5,000 that you see for year 1. Now the program, their performance starts this fiscal year, and that's an additional $5,000, up to $5,000 that they would receive.
I'll go back and look at the video. We can move on, though.
Do you have any other questions?
Well, we would need to, this is new, so we would need to sit down and review this one to make sure that we understand all the pieces.
Understood.
You know,
And it's really not as new as you think. We put it in a different format because we felt like the format we provided to you before, based on the questions and concerns you had before, that the format really wasn't clear. So we changed the format, so we split out, responsibilities versus compensation and split it by year.
On this part, we had talked last time to figure out, who's arranging coverage, and are they still responsible for work during that time?
Yeah, we're going to have to come back. Okay.
I mean, if it would make it clearer for you, we can have year 1, and then year 2, and then year 3 in a format like this, so that you see it. It's just that year 2 and year 3 are the same. That's why we left them in one column. So for both years, it's the same stipend, same incentive. One for year 2, same stipend, same incentive for year 3.
And I think we understand that part. I guess the confusion is that we had the expectation that it was 5,000 per year, as it appears to be, except that first year was 5,000 for training and 5,000 for participating.
So are you saying you thought it was, instead of being in the neighborhood of 15,000, you thought it was in the neighborhood of 20,000 over
Right,
3
I
years?
think we thought, based on the language and the discussion last time, that year 1, and there's 3 years here, whether it's their fiscal years, our fiscal, but there's 3 years. Year 1 was training 5,000, participation 5,000. That's what we believe based on previous conversations and language. And then year 2 and 3 was up to 5,000, which you have indicated there. So yes, the 5,000 from year 1 for participating is what we believe based on the previous iteration.
Right, because the first 5,000 that you mentioned for them participating in item number 2 says that they'll receive the up to 5,000 for participating, and it would be prorated. All right, so the proration tells you that they're going to receive it during the course of by it not being prorated, it's going to be received at the end of the first year for participating. And then the second 5,000 clearly states that it was for the training, and they would get it on October 31st. And so therefore it was $10,000 that they would get during that first year. That's what I saw. And I could be wrong, and I said we can look at the video and double check, but if you read this, it clearly states that there are two $5,000 during the first year.
That's correct. So that they will receive for FY '22 two $5,000, up to two $5,000 payments, one for training and one for participating in a program. There was no participation last year, which is year 1 of the grant, but there was no participation. There's just training moving forward. So we're using that first $5,000, if you want to see it that way. So if you can almost ignore year 1 because there's no participation in year 1 of the grant. There's year 2 and year 3 in terms of participation. What we lobbied the US DOE for is using that first $5,000 for their training, and that's what we're paying. So they will get for our fiscal year, there's up to two $5,000 payment. That's how it looks like right now.
But it's up to $15,000. It's not up to $20,000.
So the end of the year, October 2022, they would have another $5,000 they'll receive then,
Up to.
Up to 5,000, that's correct.
on October of '22.
Well,
Right.
no, actually,
So-
we have October of '21. Let me just make sure I've got the dates here correct. And then for year 2, which is 21, 22, you're correct, it would be beginning of November.
So they would get it before the October, it's only because of the time frame now, but they would be getting it throughout the year, and then the incentive would be calculated based on that school year. So it will be before the October time frame, because it's based on our fiscal year, if that makes sense, the school performance piece.
Okay, and the other part of the challenge we had with that was it being given at one time at the end of the plan as opposed to during the course of the year.
Yes, I think we're okay doing it throughout the year for the $4,000 stipend piece. We can prorate that piece. It's the incentive piece that we weren't able to do, because that has to wait for the end of the year. So the majority of the money can be prorated.
Okay. All right, I'll double check and get back, but, okay, thank you.
All right, so do you all have any additional questions?
Well, as I said, I don't really know because I need to take this and review it and then get back to you on that, because I haven't had a chance to read it yet.
Okay, so do you want to pause and take a couple of minutes? Because I know you want to talk about the NYU. You all can caucus. We still have this room for a couple more minutes, so I don't know if you want to caucus now and then come back while we're all here.
Yeah, we'll come back, because I remember I wanted to look at the video and all that to make sure I understood what was said and all that. So we'll get back with you on that.
Okay, so
Our
what
next
about
session.
NYU? NYU?
The NYU grant, those are two
Yeah,
MOUs.
let us caucus on the NYU.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, that's what I was asking.
All right, Theo, send it over, let's sign.
Yeah. One thing that came clear to me was what you were considering year one is last year. When I'm talking about year one, I'm talking about the teachers participating from now
Right.
until October 22, or whatever the case may be. But October 22 to you is year two.
Right, so then that's what I think I was agreeing with you. Your year one, that's still true. They get two $5,000 payments potentially.
Right. So I got you. That's not what we understood from last time, but okay. But it's the mere fact of what we're calling year one, because year one is 2021.
Right, and the grant, year one technically has already passed.
And when I was saying they're getting paid the $5,000 in the course of the year, I'm talking about year 21, 22,
Correct.
which is in the way you have it, as year two.
Yep.
So we get it. So we kind of feel we probably should say first year training, second year payment, third year payment based on calculations of student performance. You follow me? That'll be clearer so that we kind of know how that's done. Because year one is something that's already passed. Well, it will
It
after
hasn't-
October 31.
Correct. So that's what makes this muddy, is we're talking two different entities, two different fiscal years.
Right, right. Well, the fiscal year time is not the problem. The mere fact that you were using the whole of last year as year one. Because I was thinking the year that we're in now is year one.
Yeah.
All right, so that was the problem. But we're okay there. But as I said, if we kind of delineated the year one as training, and then year two, well, yeah, and then year two is the way they get the supplement, and it's going to be passed out during the course of the year as opposed to at the end of the year. And then the last one would be at the end of the year because it's based on performance.
Makes sense.
Right?
Yep.
Okay.
So we made the change you requested to the NYU MOU. We have a language in it that will meet twice a year at the request of either party.
And I think through our discussions, what we said previously about a compensation equal to a six-period supplement is more in line with what we feel like they'll have to be dedicating in terms of time and effort.
And I understand that, but this is a grant program. It's not like we have the capability that I know of to increase that amount.
So we would request that you do. You said it's 6 people and it's approximately $1,500 to get to that six-period supplement level. That's $9,000. We don't have the budget from the grant, but we are asking, there's bound to be $9,000 presumably in there or budgeted for something else that could go to the compensation to support the teachers for the work they're doing.
Yeah, so this is, just to clarify, you're referring to the NYU program?
Correct.
Yep, so that's not a grant. That's, so again, they're NYU separately, we have an MOU with them, between the school district of Palm Beach County and NYU, that they will actually provide the services related to their master's degree. So that's it says nothing about the mentors themselves being paid, if that makes sense.
Okay. So with that being said, then, again, I feel like there's flexibility in what the level of compensation could be.
Well, we hadn't anticipated, that there'd be a request for that much more money, so we'll have to go back and determine whether we have those funds where we could find that money, or if it's even available for us. Which would be unfortunate. I would hate for this program to just not be able to pay these people for the work they're doing based upon a $1,500 difference that, you know, we weren't aware there was a problem there, so.
Well, we had mentioned at the last meeting
Right, but
explicitly.
there was no amount attached to it, so it wasn't like we could, and we had requested information from your side, so prior to this meeting, so that we would be able to address this and get this signed today. But we can certainly go back and see what we can do. It just delays our ability to pay these teachers, that's all. We wanted to put the money in the teachers' hands.
Understood.
So I guess we're not going to get any further today, so we will have to, unless you had anything else additional to add to the grants, do you have any other changes that you want to bring forward?
No, at this point, I mean, we were fine with the other document. With this one, it's just new. We just need to review it to make sure we don't miss anything, that's all.
Okay. All right, well, we'll send you out some dates and see if we can get something for either beginning of next week maybe, or maybe even Friday afternoon if you're available.
Tomorrow?
Well, let me ask you this. Dr. LaCove has a good idea. You know, obviously, the NYU program is something that we're going to want to continue year after year after year. Is it possible that we could get a deal today for the $3,000 and then talk about an increased amount for next year?
We'd have to think about that.
Do you want to caucus, or do you need more time than a few minutes to think about it?
I mean, so the participants aren't guaranteed each year to be the same, or are they? Will they change year to year?
Yeah, it's not guaranteed. It's up to the principal.
Okay, so that would be our concern then, that we would be, and we do appreciate that we would be neglecting this year's participants, you know, for next year's.
Well, I wouldn't say we're neglecting them. It's
Well,
$3,000. That's not.
Myself, I would feel that in doing that, I would be neglecting, not you. I'm not putting that on you.
Okay. Well, then I guess we'll see. Are you available Friday afternoon? So maybe we can get
Tomorrow?
Is tomorrow Friday already? So, yeah, if you're available tomorrow afternoon. I'll have to look and see if we can get this room, obviously, since it has to be recorded. Unless you could agree to do virtual, if we could get your answers for you tomorrow, we could do it virtually easily without having to worry about a room.
If you were able to agree to the 4,500, we would just be able to sign the document tomorrow. That's possible, because is that the only item left on the table, so to say?
We just need to review, and we would have time to do that by then.
Okay, so I was, sorry, I was getting distracted. We can't, just being told we don't have ability to have this room tomorrow afternoon, so we could do a virtual, but I missed what you said, Mr. Harris.
Yeah, I said, you know, we could, because Justin was asking whether that was the only other concern, and I just said we just need to review the revised document, that's all.
Okay.
And we can do that by tomorrow, and if we can get the additional funding, that would be great. We
All right.
can sign tomorrow.
Okay, thank you. So I'll send out an invitation after I get back to my office.
So I have just 11 to 12 we have blocked off for a meeting. I know that.
Well, I was thinking later in the afternoon because we're going to have to get a few people together. So it may take us till, I'm thinking probably about 3 o'clock.
Okay.
3 o'clock is good.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.